Well, hello and welcome to Faith, Philosophy and Life with me, Mr. Shelton. It's great that you're joining me again in week 2 of the summer term. I do hope that you are well and that your families are good as well. At the moment, we're thinking about a topic which is about life in Britain, and today's topic is about how do we make decisions and what helps us make the decisions that we make. Because ultimately, decisions are a huge part of everything we do. Now, we might not feel we have as many decisions that we can make at this time, and I totally understand that, but there are some decisions that we still need to make, and we still have judgments that we have about our friendships, and we will. What I'd like you to do, please, is to think about a decision that you've had to make and how you've made it, and go and grab a pen and paper while we listen to our cheesy intro music. Okay, so welcome back. I hope that you have a pen and paper there. I just wonder, some of you may have seen A Good Place on Netflix, and there was a classic trolley problem in that. Let me share the trolley problem with you, and I'm going to ask you this question. Would you flick the switch? The second question I'm going to ask you is, would you push the bloke? Okay, would you flick the switch or would you push the bloke? So watch this clip now from the Open University and see what you think should happen.
A runaway train is heading towards 5 workers on a railway line. There's no way of warning them, but you're standing near a lever that operates some points. Switch the points, and the train goes down a spur. Trouble is, there's another worker on that bit of track too, but it's 1 fatality instead of 5. Should you do that? Many people think the right thing to do would be to switch the points, to sacrifice 1 to save 5, since that produces the best outcome possible. Now imagine the train heading for the workers again. This time it can only be stopped by pushing a very large man off a bridge. His great bulk would stop the train, but he'd die. Should you do that? Most people say no. But why not? Both thought experiments are cases of sacrificing 1 to save 5. What the trolley problem examines is whether moral decisions are simply about outcomes or about the manner in which you achieve them. Some utilitarians argue that the 2 cases are not importantly different from each other. Both have similar consequences, and consequences are all that really matter. In each case, 1 person dies and 5 are saved, the best option in each harrowing situation. But lots of people say they would switch the points, but they wouldn't push the man off the bridge. Are they simply inconsistent, or are they onto something?
So this is a classic problem, and this relates to a lot of things in actual real life. I know you might say, well, I'm never going to be in that situation with a train coming and I need to flick the switch, or do I not flick the switch and do I kill people? No, I do hope that that's a situation you never find yourself in. But it is a situation that computer programmers have found themselves in with the issue of self-driving cars. Do they make a decision that a car hits an old person, bearing in mind a self-driving car, there's no one controlling it, therefore it all has to be pre-programmed. Does it hit an old person or does it hit a toddler? And depending what country you are from, will make a very different answer on that. Likewise, some people would say, well, I'll be happy to flick a switch because I'm seeing it as saving 5 people rather than killing 1. However, even though the net result is you're still killing someone, most people would say that pushing someone off a bridge in order to stop a train, however unlikely that is that will actually happen, they would say that that would be wrong. So there's some really deep thoughts that go into that clip, and it's really interesting, and I wish I could be in a classroom to have that discussion with you, because that would probably take most of the lesson. But why don't you text one of your friends, see what they think as well about that. So let's have a look. This is our title today. It's what is morality and ethics? How do we know what the right thing to do is? So our learning objective is to explore what's understood by morality. And our literacy objective, it would have been in a class to develop our understanding through oral skills, through speaking. However, obviously that's going to be slightly more difficult to do in this environment. So there's our title for you to have that written down. What is morality and ethics? So it's going to be good if you can consider what makes an act wrong. Hopefully you could define relative and absolute morality and link conscience and virtues to morality as well. So that's really quite a challenging one there. Great if you can explain where Christians draw their guidance from, and even better if you can link that to some key biblical quotes. So we're going to look at some unfamiliar words which I'd like you to become familiar with. Our careers link there is communication, because I would like you to communicate on paper, and obviously hopefully with some of your friends as well, because you can't get a job if you can't communicate very well. We're going to think about our value of wisdom, and as well thinking about what we believe and why we do that. So there's basically 4 things in this lesson. There's the what would you do, which is what we've just covered. We're going to look at influences, we're going to look at some task sheets, and then some discussion thoughts as well. So to start off with then, there are some key terms here. There's ethics, influence, morals, and morality. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to write down, just shrink those down if you need to, so you know what those terms mean. So ethics then is the study of concepts like good and bad, right and wrong. So ethics is the study of why we think things might be right and wrong. You've got influence, which is the power to affect or control or change something or someone, and all of you are influencers on other people, and all of you are influenced as well. There's morals, which is a person's belief about what's right and wrong, and there's morality, which is where you choose between right and wrong as well. So morals and ethics are sort of our big terms for today's lesson. You remember from our learning objective, we've also got absolute and relative morality as well. If something is absolute, then it means it's always true. So for example, do not murder, you might say is absolutely true in every single situation. And then you've got relative, which is it can change depending on the situation. So you might say do not murder would be okay in most circumstances, but if you were at war, then do not murder wouldn't work as a rule. So pause this clip now, get those definitions down. Behind me then is a Diamond 9 activity. What I'd like you to do is to either draw the diamond out or just write these words down, but it needs to be in this order. So at the top is the one that you think is the most influential in your life, and at the bottom is the one that you think is least influential in your life. And then you've got 2 that you might strongly agree with, or 3 which you're indifferent in the middle, 2 then that you might disagree with, and then 1 at the bottom you might strongly disagree with. So you've got community, experiences, friends, media, that's TV, video, internet, parents, religion, family, culture, and teachers. So do that now and try and work out which would you put at the top, which would you put at the bottom, and why. When you've done that, why don't you explain the top and the bottom and 1 from the middle as well. So why have you put them where you have the top, the bottom, and 1 from the middle? So just explain those as well. Pause this clip and then come back to me when you are done. So what we've done so far is we've said that we've started to consider some of our key definitions, but we've got a few more to work on, and we've started to think about influences as well. So the next thing then is I'd like you, using the description of the Google Drive below, to access a worksheet which is there. And I'd like you to come up with ways where you think Christians think they get morality from, who came up with something called virtue ethics, what is absolute morality and give an example, what's relative morality and give an example, and do you think that people should have absolute or relative morality, and give reasons for your viewpoint as well. So use the description below, access the worksheet, which is the first worksheet that's listed there, and just see what it is that you think answers you can come up with from those questions. Okay, hopefully you pause that. If you haven't, pause this clip now. Brilliant. Okay, so what we've done now is we've definitely done our good, and we are going to move on to our great outcome. And what I'd like you to do is to look at those, to choose two of those statements. These are from a Christian viewpoint, and to explain, do you think these are good or bad ways of making decisions? Okay, are they good or bad ways of making decisions? So read them over, choose two, summarize them down, and explain. You're basically doing a little bit of evaluation. What would be, is it a good or is it a bad way of making a decision? This will take you about 5 minutes or so feel free to pause this clip now. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do then, just before we do our little family challenge that I'm going to set you today, is to reflect on at least one of these questions. Now, please note my term reflect on. That means some of you might want to write, some of you might want to think, some of you might want to, I don't know, mull it over. So you're going to choose at least one of these. Okay, so the first one's dead easy. Suggest two ways which people can be influenced. The second one is describe ways which religious belief can change people's attitudes, opinions and actions. And the last one's a real challenge there for some of you. You may want to do, really challenge yourselves. It's wrong for people to try to influence other people either positively or negatively. Do you agree? So do you think that people should try and influence you, or do you think you should try and influence other people? But you need to show 2 points of view for that. So pause this now and then come back to me when you think that you've done your very, very best on that. Okay, so just coming into land then. Today we said we'd explore what's meant by morality. So we said it'd be good if we could consider what makes an act wrong. We can define relative and absolute morality and link conscience and virtues to morality, and we did all that with the first worksheet. Then we said it'd be great if we could explore where Christians get their guidance from when regarding to morality, and even better if we can link that to some Bible quotes, and that all links to the work you've just completed prior to that evaluation question. So the last thing I'd like you to do is to draw a pyramid like this. Now you say, oh, Mr. Charlton, it's a triangle. Yeah, it probably is actually rather than a pyramid, because a pyramid's a three-sided shape. We all know that from Key Stage 2. Sorry. So what I'd like you to do is to draw a triangle and divide it like I've done there, and maybe ask your family or your friends about what would they say as the most influential thing. Then two things that were sort of came out second, and then you've got a third layer there of influences. It'd be really interesting if you could send that through to me or your teachers, because I'd love just to be nosy and see what influences you might give me a little bit of guidance about where to go from here. So I will leave that with you. Thank you very much for your time today. Take care of yourselves. God bless. Stay safe. Wash hands and the rest of it. And hopefully I'll see you soon. But we'll wait and see. See you soon.